Welcome to Empowerment of Faith Kingdom Center for Ambassadors, pastored by Dr. Larry Smith. Our vision is to preach the gospel of the kingdom of heaven and bring all nations to the knowledge of truth. We hope this word empowers you today and helps you discover Elohim's purpose for your life. Now, let's get into the teaching.
We are back to bring the kingdom message to you once again. I'm Dr. Renee, Assistant Pastor of Empowerment of Faith, and we are ready to receive the word. Dr. Larry has been doing an amazing teaching concerning the laws that govern the family. And so for those who have been watching, thank you so much. And then you can always like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then click the bell in the upper right-hand corner. So each time we come on, you will be notified. So at this time, we're going to say, teach, Dr. Larry, teach.
All right, we appreciate everyone, and we say shalom to everyone that's on our platforms, our digital platforms that are also on YouTube, whatever platform you're on, and you have embraced the message of the kingdom and ready to receive, we certainly have the word for you. Now, we're in this particular area of family, and we started off, we're yet dealing with the children, laws that govern children. I notice this is and has been helping parents to understand what guidelines to implement in their families as relates to their children that are not solely based on culture or based on this present culture, either previous or, past or present culture, because a lot of things that we were taught and that we're teaching our children was not based on laws of the kingdom. And why? We didn't know them. You see, and these laws have been embedded in creation in mankind since the Father created us. They are there, but we just have to rediscover what's already here in order to have a more profound identity as relates to our children connecting and being in the image and likeness of the Father as they grow up, that people will be able to identify them as saints, as a chosen generation, as a royal priesthood, as a holy nation. Now, that's the parents' responsibility. It's not the school system responsibility. It's not the daycare responsibility. It's not the babysitter responsibility. It's not YouTube responsibility. It's not the computer responsibility. It's not video's responsibility. It's not Big Bird responsibility. It's not Old McDonald's responsibility. It's the parents' responsibility. And anytime all of these other measures are having implemented and having more time with your children instead of you having that time with them, then things are off balance. And as they grow up, you won't see the image and likeness of the Father. You see the image and likeness of whatever source of thought that you allow to go in them and you put in them. They'll be conformed to that image. And then now you're mad and angry or just gave up and brokenhearted because you see that your children they hellish. And they're not making proper decisions. And many parents are beginning to support your children in a rebellious state. Yeah, support them in it. And you know it's wrong. It's all the way wrong. Okay? So as we come into knowledge, then we begin to operate and implement the knowledge that we come into and become aware of. So we cover a couple of laws: law of honor, law of obedience. All our children ought to be taught and disciplined by their parents. And the parents ought to teach the children what you have learned, what laws you have learned, what laws you have discovered that's been here all the time, and you make the change. You getting it? Now, of course, you know that we have a system. As a matter of fact, United States and the Western world altogether have this system in place that's so powerful that we actually think we're doing the Father's will by operating by the system. I mean, laws are passed that if your children are not in a public school or somewhere getting taught, then you can be penalized for it. They can't just be out on the street doing stuff. You see the buses, millions of dollars been put into transportation, millions of dollars have been put into buildings to take your children from their place, their home, and put them in an institutionalized building and put that indoctrination in them, feed them, some clothe them and give them what they need so they can conform to a citizen of the Western world and be a consumer and being one who would support the rich getting richer. Train workers. The school system was initially designed to train workers. When they have instructions on the machine or something on the board as related to safety, you need to know how to read that so you wouldn't cut your arm off. And then college was designed for trained supervisors to supervise those trained workers. That's the initial intent. And then now you can go and get a skill set in a particular field, whereas you can have a good, nice source of income. But other than that, all the other stuff is to train people how to manage the workers. It's the straw boss and the workers in the field. It's the same system. Instead of being applied to the former prisoners of war, it's being applied to everybody. Everybody trained workers, or you supervising trained worker. If you're an entrepreneur, then at least you get out of that class, out of that system. And most entrepreneurs think outside the box. My wife was telling me, people, when they do polls and stuff, they rather talk to an entrepreneur because they know the entrepreneur mind haven't been conformed to the system, thinking outside of the system. Are you getting this? So our children are very important. They are actually, Yeshaya 6:1. I believe Yeshaya 6:1. Let's go here. Let's look at how what product that the Father's looking for as it relates to our children. Yeshaya called Isaiah, and some say Yashia, however you want. No, it's not however you want it, but that's his real name. It's not Isaiah. Okay, now, as it relates to our children. Okay, so we're gonna look at here we go, verse 8. Yeah, we want to look at verse 8. Look at the King James. I'm in the NIV. We're going to begin at verse 6. Verse 6. Let me go to that's Yashaya. Do what I want you to do. 6:1 and 6. Okay, but you shall be named the priests, ambassadors of Yahweh. They shall call you the ministers. That word serves ministers of Elohim. You shall eat the riches of the Gentiles. Now, Gentiles, when you look at Bereshit, Gentiles actually are the people of the seed of Japhet. And the other part category is the people who don't worship Elohim. Because we was taught in Sunday school and everything else, a Gentile is a person not born again. But if you look at Bereshit 11, you'll find out the Gentiles were the seed of Japhet. Okay, you had Japhet, you had Shem, and who else? What are the three boys' names? And Ham, right? Now, as relate to the melon count and the skin color and the physical features, Shem and Ham looked alike. Ham wasn't dark skin and Shem high yellow. That's a lie. The gene pool, if you can't get that out of that. Noah and his wife were brown skinned people. When I say I'm talking about real brown and not the redefined brown, I know it's Black History Month, but I don't confine the message of the kingdom to a particular month. When you look at what has defined as brown when it relates to people, it'll be the Hispanics. That color tone. Look at it. And black, you brown, but you've been called black because you continue to accept that. And you're not black, you're brown. Everybody I'm looking at this place right now is brown. And I got a couple online that's light skinned. Am I right? And I'm going to teach it again. I'm going to actually put the actual color brown up and put some people up and ask the audience, you tell me where brown is up there. Not based on the American system, but just your colors and being able to see clearly. You tell me where it is. Both of them were brown, and one of them was very light skinned, and that was Japhet. Noah and his wife, Gene Pool, had to be brown skinned because only two brown skinned people can produce a multicolored skin of people and multi count of melanin in the skin. Adam and Eve were brown. And Hava, Masa Izuniga, they were brown. They had to carry that gene pool in order to produce very dark skinned children and very light skinned children. Very dark-skinned people can't do that. The gene pool, doesn't have the properties in it to do that, nor can very light-skinned people produce different color people. So when you get these same gene pools, the same melon count, and they separate and they continue to reproduce out of the gene pool, you're gonna have a whole group of people with the same melon count in their skin and skin texture and color. Well, there are many shades of brown. It's one brown, and everything come off of that. I'm talking about the original brown. I know how I got into it. The Holy Spirit teaching it. All right, so he says, well, anyway, I want to throw that in. But you shall be named the priest of Yahweh. They shall call yourself Elohim. You shall eat the riches of the Gentiles. Okay, so primary seed Gentile, you're talking about the seed of Japheth. And when you're talking about the Gentiles inhabiting, congregating in the temple, that's who he is talking about. All right. Now, and in their glory, you shall boast. Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor. And you know those words are italicized. And instead of confusion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land, they shall possess double. Everlasting joy shall be theirs. For I, Yahweh, love justice. I hate robbery for burnt offerings. I will direct their work in truth and will make with them an everlasting covenant. Their descendants shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All who see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the posterity whom Yahweh has blessed. I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in Elohim. He hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. Now, I want to get to the part, he was talking about the children, number one. And then if you go on, keep reading, he'll say, your children shall be priests. I give them employees so they can serve me as priests. You see that, Dr. Renee? Or did I read over it, or was it before? There it is right there. Yeah, he's talking about the descendants when he said you shall be named as priests of Yahweh. We read that earlier. Now, what you do when you go back and read this, you go 60 through 63, and you will see in there when he said, I give them servants so that they can minister to me. Now, I want this. I'm getting it. They can minister to me. And he was talking about actually our children. So what we're working on is that vision, there we go, that vision that we should be focusing on as relates to our children. Okay. Now, they searching too. When you get it, I want to go to that particular one. It's two of them. All right. So basically the instructions there was this, that when Yeshua and let's go to 61. I'm not going to rush this. Let's go back to 61. Let's go back to 61. Okay, let's get it at the beginning. Here we go. All right, y'all see it? We're going to read this together. Come on. The spirit of Yahweh Elohim is upon me, because Yahweh has anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of prison to who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, Yahweh, and the day of vengeance of Elohim, to comfort all who mourn, to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness. That word tree is talking about people. The planting of Yahweh, that he may be glorified. And they shall rebuild the old ruins. They shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the ruined cities, the desolations of many generations. Strangers shall stand and feed your flocks. That's it. Strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the foreigners shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. Now, let's look at the NIV and see how they word that. All right. What was that? Verse 4? 5. Strangers will shepherd your flocks. Foreigners, here's the NIV, will work your fields and vineyards. And you will be called what? Priests of Yahweh. You will be named the ministers of Elohim. you will feed on the wealth of the nations, and in their riches you will boast. You see this right here? He's talking about our children. He said, I'll give you workers so that you and your children will be able to serve me as ambassadors or priests. You getting this? Now, ambassadors are not financially responsible for their upkeep. The nation or the country who dispatched the ambassador is responsible totally for the well-being of that ambassador. Y'all getting this? That's why he said you will be priests of Yahweh, representatives, ambassadors of Yahweh, and I'll give you businesses and I'll make you an entrepreneur so your time can be untied to be able to minister to me and represent me all the days of your life. You won't be out there working. You'll be the one who receiving the benefits from those who are working, so you can focus on what I call you to do and the mandate I place upon you in this earth. So when we are dealing with our children, we have to teach them this, that you are not to be an employee. You got to be free so you can represent the kingdom of heaven in the earth, the government of the kingdom, and that is inclusive of your lifestyle. It's not teaching them to go out and make a lot of money. The money will be made if we teach them the mandate and why the Father is giving them other people to work for him. Work for them so they could be free to minister on behalf of the Lord. Anytime the Lord need them, they're available. But we weren't taught that. So we first got to get our lives in check and understand and receive the principle that the Father has said and say, I believe to receive that, and I'm going to have a corresponding act to go with that and some actions. I have a goal, I have some plans, and I plan to execute these plans. Because Father, you said you will give me workers. I won't be the one that's slaving. You will give me workers so I can be free. And wherever I go, people will know that I'm different from the consumers. I'm not the same. People respect you and your family better when they know that you are outside the system doing stuff on your own. I don't care what ethnic group you're dealing with. They look at you different. They deal with you different. They treat you different. Are y'all getting this? I'm experiencing this. I know this. Listen. And you don't have to have all these millions of dollars to make the first step. My mother, I never saw mama or daddy go work for nobody. Even when they went to chop cotton, that was like subbing. They paid them so much a day to chop the cotton. They could leave anytime they got ready. When we was hauling that cardboard, we went out and picked the cardboard up, load the truck, took it right down there where the pyramid is to Blockman and sold that paper where they were recycling that cardboard. I never was taught to be on nobody's job. I just wasn't raised like that. Now they can do it coming out the cotton fields and take what other men throw away and make it a treasure. What about us and all the opportunities we have? They didn't have no lines of credit. They didn't have no working capital. They created their own working capital. We took wood. We would see wood laying on the side of the street. And mama and daddy told me that's how my dad had primarily built that first house when we moved from St. Louis. They said a lot of that wood was used lumber they picked up on the side of the road. And rather than go get in debt and work for somebody else on their plantation, they would take used wood and put the house up. Didn't have no windows, they had plastic, but it was theirs. Didn't have no mortgage note. Well, I didn't know nothing about a mortgage note or car note. We sold hogs. We raised hogs and sold hogs. And when our truck broke down, we would sell some hogs to get the money to get it fixed. I never knew about going work for somebody. So we can't be sitting there with those excuses. Well, if I had this and I had that, you got a promise. You got laws that's already here, and your children should be a better product than what we are, because we're coming into more knowledge that we input into them, and we're to teach and train them not to be a consumer in the system, because they won't be able to carry out the mandate, just like many of us can't carry out the mandate because we slaving 24/7. Then I'm too tired to pray. I don't have money to do this, pastor this and pastor that. It's because of a lack of knowledge of the laws, number one, and a lack of execution of the laws by us, number two. Yes. All right, now this I wouldn't plan on Going there. That's not in my notes, in other words. All right, so now, so all our children ought to be trained by the parents. The parents must get the training first. I was thinking about this morning, generational transfer. I said, okay, so we got that going. So now I want some other things to free us up even the more. I'm not talking about retiring. I'm not retiring. Yeah, what y'all say? And I saw some of my sons doing some things that the father already showed me. They just got to get in line. And then along with that, I said, man, I got sons outside of my house. And I saw them doing some things. That's the way I think. That's why these men who come around us look to us as a father. Because you go mostly congregations, if you're not a part of that immediate family, you ain't preaching, you ain't teaching nothing. My son teaching whether he called or not. And many congregations have been pastors' sons ain't even saved. They weren't called to preach nothing, teach nothing. And the people just sit there and put up with it. I'm serious. So all of mine, that's doing what they doing, they were called to do it. Or I tell them, leave it alone. Do something else. This is not you. I don't play with stuff like that. All right, so now let's go, the law of submission. We were right there because submission and authority ties together. There's a law. Look at, I left Timotheus 3 and 4. There's a law that says we must teach our children how to be submissive, not to be ran over, and not this submission as relates to men. I don't know what it is, Elder Will, but people think that a brown-skinned man, but I'm dealing with, I don't leave no stones uncovered. The brown-skinned man, if they are not sweet and very submissive, then they're aggressive. You can't be masculine and brown. Not in the Western culture. You'll be stereotyped as aggressive and violent. Ooh, he's so sweet. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What you want me to do, man? I'm Pastor Renee. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Oh, he's so sweet. And then the women who are educated support that in feminization of that man masculinity. I mean, the way you raise your boys, you raise them to be masculine. They can be masculine and respectful. You don't, boy, I brought you, I'll take you out. That's masculine. Stop. Our parents didn't know no, but you know they said it. But daddy could say it, but mama never should have been saying it. Because she's stepping outside of femininity. Okay, son, I told you this, and you this, and you that. Now I'm gonna handle this business. And you already know there's a law in this family that I've whooped you, your daddy gonna beat you down all the way. So whether you're here or not, you're gonna do what I tell you to do. And I appreciate your son. Now come on over and turn around. She's still feminine. And they rather have that than to have dad on them. Because Dad, I'm your son. Why you hitting me like that? Oh, you are? Let me make sure. You didn't holler loud enough. Y'all got I left Timotheus 3 and 12. So women, these are laws. Man, you must maintain your control masculinity. Son, you need to, I told you to study this book here and give me some notes and a summary of it. And I expect that to be done. And just let me know when you get it ready. As a matter of fact, you kind of go overboard sometimes. You have this ready by 9 o'clock tomorrow. Masculine, right? Not begging him. And then he brings something, got 1 point. Then I tell you to bring me a summary. See, mama would have said and nurtured and said, oh, that's so good. You did that point and you just really trying. And she would use her femininity to influence him and help him. That's her role, to do better and stuff like that. And he thinking, man, Daddy gonna see this. Oh, no, I don't know. Mom, can you help me finish it? If he got any sense. But Dad gonna say, no, I told you. And no, I'm not accepting that. You doing what you want to do your way. It's not working like that. And deal with it. See, fathers crush rebellion. That's a law. That's a law. And it hurt mama hard. Ooh, that's my baby. But mama just have to close her mouth and let her be that baby on the inside. And let daddy handle it outside. Now, what does it say here? Let the deacons, the ministers, be the husband, one wife. These are qualifications for leadership. Anybody, now notice ministers, because they have a hands-on ministry with the congregation, and they are the direct hands of the senior pastor and the eldership, the local eldership in the congregation, that they have to be qualified just as those they are helping who are qualified. In other words, you can't have no cussing minister. You know, the church called deacon. You can't have no cussing minister and a pastor who don't cuss. Y'all getting it? All right. He says, ruling their what? Children and their own houses well. For those who serve as ministers, that's the Hebrew word sharat, obtain for themselves a good standing and great boldness in the faith which is in Yeshua the Messiah. Now, let's look at the law of authority, because we covered that about teaching our children to be submissive. Now, you can see those rebellious spirits in them, especially when they raise their hand up or you tell them to do something. I know some of them don't know the difference between yes and no. Well, I'm finding it out because I didn't get that exemption. If I said no, I found out not to ever say no again. Even though I meant yes, I just closed my mouth until I learned how to say yes. We raised children. We did the same thing. You know, I had to pull Renee back one time. I said, Renee, I don't think they know what they're saying. Give them a little time. Let them grow. No, I blame it on Renee. All right, I left, what is it? 3 and 12. Is that Titus? Probably Titus 2. Look at 3 and 12. 3 and 12. We was at 3 and 4. Look at 3 and 12. All right. I just read that. Now let's look at Titus 1 and 6. Submission. Submission is the opposite of rebellion. The culture that's out here, especially the music, train them to be rebellious. Well, I'm standing up for you. Let me tell it on one of my sons. He didn't know no better, and I knew he didn't. He said, yeah, Dad, but I'm a man too. I stand on my own 2 feet. I said, listen, just go on in there. We was working out of town. I said, go in the other room in there. Just get away from me. That was years ago, so you can figure out who it was. Because the other one too young to be running out of town. So you can figure out in the back with a blue suit on. But well, I was taught to stand up like a man. I said, how you gonna stand up like a man? If you've been taught to stand up like a man, you wouldn't be in my face. Just go in another room and paint or do something. Just get away from me. Yeah, that's not, I gave him, because I understood where he was. He didn't have a father mentor and to teach him things like this. I understood that, so I let him slide. But at the same time, I stood my ground. Just get away from me. Just go away. And then I went and talked to him, and he cried, and so I talked to him and told him, you don't do that. Whoever taught you that, get it untaught. Because if a lady is raising their sons or daughters by themselves, they're trying to prepare them for these people out here they have to deal with in the school, in their neighborhood, and they're trying to get them to stand up, but that's the wrong way to get them to stand up. You don't stand before, and tell you what, another source that came from, was it Jim Lynch? Was he the one that taught that doctrine? Willie Lynch, putting the younger against the elders. See, that was put in former prisoners of war to keep them divided and make sure that the young men would never receive mentorship from the elders. They taught that. Are you hearing me? And now it's in the music. It's in the culture. He 12 and looking at you like he gonna beat you down. And they will challenge your masculinity or you being a husband, father, knowing where they are. So if we have knowledge, knowing where they're coming from, we have to let them know, boy, I don't play like that. I went in them schools and everything. When I walk in and they doing all this, I said, look, I got sons 2 times your age. You need to just sit down because I'm talking. And they just sit down talking. I don't threaten nobody. The authority will come out in the voice. The authority will manifest. They know they're dealing with a father, a grown but man. Y'all say the other word. All right, Titus 1 and 6 says, if a man be blameless, the husband, one wife, having faithful who? Faithful who? That's a law. We teach our children to be faithful, to be trustworthy, to be dependable. faithful children, not accused of dissipation or insubordination. Now, who got thrown out of school? Ain't you spirit-filled and saved and born again? Why your kids getting thrown out of school? Why they calling them to the office? I can honestly say the only cause I got for my children was the youngest one, telling them Baptist people that they were wrong, that you can't be saved and still doing all this. Was that the area? You remember the school called us out there on Houston Levee? That one sitting by you. When he challenged the doctrine. Do you remember what you challenged him on? I do. You remember? Yeah. And then he went to another school, same thing. I said, well, first of all, I told y'all they're not there for you to teach them religion. No, he said, well, how can you be a saint and a sinner at the same time? How can be a sinner saved by grace? That's not right. I think it's about 8 or 9 or something like that. And the principal called it. Those are calls you want if they in the system. Okay? Now, the education system we got in place in this congregation, they'll never get, taught bad doctrine like that. So he says, insubordination, for a senior pastor must be blameless as a manager of Elohim, not self-will, and we don't go to qualification. But notice that the qualification of the leader must match the character of the children. That's a law. And if those qualifications are for the leader, then the leader qualified to teach the congregation the same thing. You getting it? So really, it's not just for the leaders, for the leader to be able to teach what they do and have a manifestation of the Father's will in the people's lives. If a leader is not doing something, the leader is not qualified to teach. I don't care how good they sound, what long words they can pronounce, how well their presentation are. The Father don't want no hypocrite teaching his people. It doesn't work like that. Now, the people have a responsibility to imitate the leader's faith, their belief system. Y'all getting this now? Therefore, everyone must abide by these laws and have their children like this, not accused of insubordination, not being rebellious, not giving a teacher's problem, not giving a neighbor's problem, not giving anyone. That's a law. You don't let them get away with stuff. You don't go pet them up and talk to them in certain instances. But we got to learn stuff. So all of us did what we knew, did we not? And then some of us watched TV and applied that old crazy stuff like time out. Well, you can't whoop them, but the state say, just like when we had 5-star child care facility system, Dr. Renee had over 50 kids up there. And, if they was getting any type of funding from the government, you can't put your hands on them. So they say you can use time out. No. Something other than separating you and making you look at a wall. That builds rebellion. Here it is. I worked prison ministry for years, national and international. And the worst punishment for a man or woman in prison was to separate them from population. That was the last thing they wanted to go through, was being separated from other human beings. That looking at the wall is the same thing. It's a seed been put in them now. But okay, so when they get grown, what they gonna do? Look at the wall? No, they're gonna have their butts downtown paying fines and penalties and a lawyer and all this kind of stuff. Ain't looking at no wall, they getting their money. Now let's look at so that's dealing with the law of authority. I have a lot that we could put into this, but I'm trying to keep it as relates to keys that we can go back and begin to study authority and submission. Y'all getting it? Now look at Luke 7. This is not in the notes. Look at Luke 7. Let's go to Luke 7, and we're going to deal with Yeshua and this Roman armor bearer who was very close to him. All right. 7:1. Let's look at this. The law of what? We're looking at authority, right? As relates to our children. The law of authority governs our children. If the children are not submitted, they will not abide by your authority. They are acted out. They'll never submit to your authority. They're just acted out. And one way of finding it out, soon they leave the house, they're a whole different Dr. Jekyll. They're a whole total different person. They don't do anything what anyone asks them to do because they never actually submitted to authority. They give any person in leadership problems because they never submitted to your authority. They just acted out and played the role of the hypocrite. That's why you don't reward them for doing what they supposed to do and obeying the laws that naturally they supposed to. No, I'm not giving you nothing. You supposed to do this. Do you give me anything for doing what I'm supposed to do? Well, don't you look at me and think I'm going to give you anything. I'm going to teach you the law, and the benefits of that law is that you're going to operate in authority just like you see your parents operate in authority. Even as a child, children can demand things to be done in the authority of Yeshua if they are submitted to their parental authority. They can call things into existence just like we can, but it won't happen if they're not submitting to the authority that they first confront, and that's the authority of the parents. Many children try to get away from their parents because their parents actually don't operate in submission and authority. They see their parents talking about this and hear them talking about that. When they see their parents playing a role of the hypocrite, so they figure that why should I do what you are not doing? I talk to kids too. I've counseled many children. I worked with Wilder Youth Development Center. I worked in the schools, 10-point coalition. They would tell me stuff. Now I was telling them that's still your parents. Whether they do it or not, you do what you won't need to do so you won't turn out the way that they turn out. Okay? Now, when Yeshua had finished saying all this to the people who were listening, he entered Capernaum. There was a centurion who was a Roman leader of a group of military men, at least 100 of them, whom centurion, and this servant actually is this particular leader minister. It was his protege, all right, whom his master valued highly, was sick and about to die. I hate to use the word masters and all that stuff because they use that to promote and condone slavery upon any group of people. It's not that. All right, now, the centurion heard of Yeshua and sent some elders of the Yehudites to him, asking him to come and heal his protege. When they came to Yeshua, they pleaded earnestly with him. This man deserved to have you do this because he loves our nation and he has built a synagogue. So Yeshua went with them. The man had to bring something to the table because he wasn't a part of the holy nation. Now, what connected him to the holy nation was his what? His giving. His financial support connected him to the nation. That's why Yeshua said, whatever your heart treasure, then you will follow that. Your heart always go and follow what you value. He valued the holy nation of Israel. He valued their tenets of faith. He valued what they were doing, so he put his support along with it. Y'all getting it? Now, some preachers will take this and get your money and stuff. All right. Now, he was not far from the house when the centurion sent friends to say to him, Lord, don't Yahweh, Adonai. Now, in this instance, he said Adonai because they didn't know the name of Elohim. He said, Adonai, don't trouble yourself, for I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. I know who I am and what I am. I'm supporting what you all are doing, but you don't have to do that. He acknowledged who Yeshua was, and some of his family then acknowledged him to this degree of honor. But say the word, and my what? Protege will be what? Healed. For I myself am a man what? I'm a man who is submitted to authority. Watch this. With soldiers submitted to me. I'm submitted to authority, and I have soldiers submitted to me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one come, and he comes. I say to my employees, do this, and he does it. When Yeshua heard, now he said all of this in this conversation, letting Yeshua know that he didn't have to come because he recognized the spiritual authority that Yeshua had. Physically, you don't have to be present for your authority to work. Y'all catching this? You don't have to be present. Okay, Caleb, Israel, we leaving and going so-and-so, do this, do that, do the other, and we gone. I'm not calling you and FaceTime me what you doing and checking up on you and all this. You know, if I have to do all that, I failed in teaching them submission and authority. You getting it? All right. So, but watch this. When Yeshua heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning to all the religious folk and all the ministers and the elders that came with him, and the big bishop with the big Dagon hat and all that stuff on, and the priest and all of them, he turned to them and said, I tell you, I've not found such great faith even in the holy nation of Israel. I haven't found this type of belief, this type of believing and knowing that Elohim is who he say he is, and he is owner of everything, and anything he say is done. Y'all see that? Then the man who had been sent returned to the house and found the protege well. You see this? What Yeshua was saying, this brother understands submission and authority. He understands it to the point that even though he is not a part of the holy nation, he connected to the holy nation and opened the portals of heaven on his protege to get him healed through him understanding submission and authority, and applying that to me as being the Father's representative on this earth, who was going to send the governor back and restore everybody to authority by putting us back in our place, our position of righteousness with the Father. He had a understanding of spiritual authority, wasn't even saved. You seeing this? Saying that's what the parent. Now, if you as the parent are not submissive and don't operate based on authority, you ain't teaching your children nothing. And they not listening. You may teach them, but it's not having an impact because it's coming from a hypocrite. Hypocrites have no impact as relates to the teaching. Only impact that's come upon people and change their life is the impact that come from a teacher or someone who is repeating what the message of the kingdom is, who are doing it themselves. Only teach what you do. If your family is out of order, and you all know what the standards we have here, keep teaching it. And we done told you your family out of order, all you're doing is rebelling against the king, rebelling against Elohim himself, and you're defiling more people's lives. And Satan is sitting back watching because you're going to self-destruct. This goes for anybody who does this. Some people don't know no better because the Lord understands, child. You know, we all got sin, so you just keep right on going. Now you set your rear down and put some time with your family and get your act together. The Father don't honor any of that. And it just takes some time. And after a while, you see that everything will self-destruct. And now you'll be the hate of the town. Because the devil sat back and wait. You know how they did the late Bishop Long. Y'all remember? Them homosexual men, they waited. And when he kept teaching, they had told him to quit teaching that mess now. But he kept on there and they snitched on him. They'll do that. They'll set you up. And you say something if you dare. Expose all your stuff. And then notice the enemy waited until he got all that influence everywhere. All that, I'm going to show you these preachers ain't about nothing. I'm using them. Now I'm going to cut the limb off on them. I just want to show y'all that. And then that make people distrust most of the leaders. You see where I'm at? That's not just for a group. That's for the individual. And we here in this congregation, we have rules and laws that's based on scripture that govern the teaching elders and the leaders within this ministry. Some of them will tell you they got to sit down and get their act together. You just stop. And some of them stop, then some keep going. That's all right. That's you doing that. On your own. And when the devil comes, don't call me. And I was serious about that because some folks just hard-headed. All right, now, did I say that? You don't call grown people hard-headed. What's wrong with you? Oh, a grown person gonna be hard-headed. Okay, so I want to cover that particular area. I got a lot more. But we have went through a lot already, and all the sessions we have had have been based on laws that govern children in the family, that govern your children. So you'll know what laws that you need to be activating. If you don't know them, what laws you need to stand for. Singles not married with children, you're responsible for teaching those children those laws. You are. Who is? You are. Now, that means if you are not being affected because you're not doing it. But guess what? Everybody will be held accountable for what the law say. And in the day of the final decree of where every soul is going, whether you're going to heaven or hell, you still gonna, everybody, us, we're gonna stand before the same judgment. Over in Hazan, where is that Hazan where the book's gonna be open? Is that 21? Let's look at this. I always quote it, but I want you all to see it. And we wrapping this up. Where books will be open. Hazan 20 and 12. Let's go to Hazan called Revelation. Revelation, the English word revelation, to reveal, come from the Hebrew word Hazan. And when you look in the Hebrew word, spell it out, you get a whole lot more than just the reveal only. You get a lot. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books, plural, were open. Another book was open, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had what? Done, as recorded in the what? Books. You seeing it? There is the book of life, and then there are other what? Books. Books is an indicator of a record of every second that we're alive on this earth. Everything that we do, whether good or bad, is in these books. The dead were judged according to what they had done, as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead that were in it. The death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them. And each person was judged according to what they had what? Done. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the what? Second death. Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. Y'all see this? So whether you're saved or not, books are there. Here's the thing. After all the books are open and my whole life is before the presence of the Lord, if I'm not in the book of life, I'm in trouble. You seeing it? And confessing Yeshua as Lord and believing the Father raised from raising from the dead, and still living like a bunch of crazy cross-eyed demons do not mean your name in the book of life. Now give me that one. I'm gonna prove it. Where he said he won't blot their names. I think there's Hazan 2 out of the book of life, which means if he can if he can put it in there, he can blot it out. This for the once saved, always saved people. Now, which one is that? 3 and 5. Let's look at Hazan 3 and 5. And we getting ready to close. 3 and 5. Now watch this right here. Then the one who's victorious, not the one who said, Yeshua, my Lord, I believe the Father raised from the dead, and you still cussing. Just like this Pop the Balloon show I saw on YouTube. Now they dress like prostitutes. And you looking for a God-fearing man. And even a commentator, the little YouTube creator, he stopped. He said, what? Don't you supposed to be God-fearing too? You don't look like it. We can see all your tattoos. The only thing you got covered are your nipples. We see everything, and you, for real. And then one brother came on, came on cussing stuff. I'm looking for a God-fear. Here's the question. It's not Elohim. It can't be that one. No. Okay. So he says, the one who is victorious will, like them, be dressed in white. I will never what? Blot out the name of that person from the book of what? This is based on a condition. Now, if they don't do what? Are not victorious, he is going to do what? It's deductive reasoning. It's simple. It's right there. If I'm not victorious, then my name get blotted out. Boy, it's going to be some fighting in hell. They're going to be throwing, I don't know, we might need, that may be our entertainment in hell. I mean, on the earth, just looking in hell and free. Because Joker going to be beating down some of these preachers and teachers and people who telling people, well, we've been sealed, and they give you 900 scriptures out of context. Out of them 900, I can take one and put them all in context. He who does the will of the Father abides forever. Those who love me, I will give the right to the tree of life. Not everybody who's saying, Yeshua, my Lord, I believe, Father raised from the dead and don't have, and you're not doing it. It's not the, is it the will of the Father to be sexual active and not married? No. Is the will of the Father for us to be cussing like sailors? No. Is the will of the Father for us to be lying? No. Is the will of the Father for us to be hateful? No. Is the will of the Father for us to be going out to these games and drinking and acting a monkey like everybody else? No. Is the will of the Father for us to be listening to this devilish music? No. Is the will of the Father for us to be tricky? No. Is the will of the Father for us to violate all the laws that govern the kingdom wealth system? No. That is not the will of the Father. He made his will very clear to us, didn't he? Is the will of the Father to us to allow the children to be educated by secular laws? No. No and no. Am I right? No, I'm not right. The word is right. Y'all catching this? Maybe some of y'all was believing that crazy stuff. Maybe you still do. Sit there. I guarantee you when you come back, and I'm standing to the right to give account for pastoring you, and he pulled those books out, I guarantee you he going to read, no, Dr. Larry told you, but you continued on in your sin, and you did not do my will. You can't blame him. It's your fault. Gotta go. Take him. Next. Lord, I ain't got no more like that, do I? I thought I was doing right. I mean, can I get some right ones? I was after 100%. Can y'all let me get the 100? The 100? Do it for you. Do it for the bro at least. Live right for the bro. Will you do that? So when them books owe me, at least the bro can stand there. Man, I'm good. Every last one of them. Here they are. Yes, sir. I did your work. Sure did. Don't let me be the no. I'm giving us some food for thought. All right. We love you much. Appreciate you much. We say shalom to everyone. On our next session, we're gonna get into these laws that were originally designed by Elohim as relates to governing the family. Those were the children, and we're gonna get in. Like I said, I got 8. It may be 20. So what I try to do, and what I do, not try, I get the principles, I get the precepts, get the keys, teach you those. It's your responsibility to study that, meditate, let the Holy Spirit continue to teach. Y'all getting this? I'm not trying to impress nobody. Man, I could have 100 laws just on the children. We'll be on this next 50 years, just laws to govern the children. So when we give you those keys, then you pray and you meditate and you say, Holy Spirit, what have I been doing in this home as a husband, father? Have I been crushing rebellion, or have I been encouraging it? Will my daughter be a spoiled brat when she get big and wear some man almost crazy because I let her do what she, and you're not father, husband, they light on the daughters, because we don't want to be hitting on women, period. So you better get her before she look like a woman. So, you know, am I responsible for that? Mother, am I responsible for getting in the way of my father, my husband, father, developing my son into being a masculine young man who is submitted to your authority, who have emotional control and stability and know how to treat women, know how to be respectful, know how to handle himself? You see, you have to pray and ask the Father, Holy Spirit in you. His Spirit is in us. Okay, Father, help me do this. And then also you have to say, Father, I've discharged my duties. I've taught them. This is your son, your daughter. They have a will. They made those decisions. I'm not worrying myself crazy. I'm going right ahead. I'm going to continue on. That's not my problem. That's your problem. I prayed for them. Whatever need to be done to get them to change, do it. Whatever you need to do in their lives, do it. But ultimately, they have decision to make. That's why I pray for my all of them, the ones that are in line and out of line. And I don't fuss at them. I'm going to tell you, no, that's a decision you make. You know, I did my due diligence in being merciful and all that. And we got 2 that's left. And I tell them, listen, let them tell you. Do I tell you and tell you when it's all said and done, you got to make a decision? Do I tell you I can't live this for you? That's what I do. But I don't play with them. I know you got to do this. When it's all, listen, I don't have no praise if you don't make a decision to do the right things. I'm not proud of that. I'm proud when you make the decision without me telling you to obey Holy Spirit, not fight against him. Don't be doing it to keep from going to hell, because you can be halfway doing stuff and still go to hell. Do it because you have to give account. Now, the parents are a good starting point. I'm going to make my dad proud today. I'm going to make my mom proud today. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to get for the presence of the Lord. And they're not going to even know about it. They're just going to see it in my attitude. I was telling one of my sons, son, there's a good spirit around you. I mean, I like this. I mean, your soul is in good shape, good condition. I mean, this is really joyful presence. He thought I was talking to Renee. Renee said, he's talking to you. Oh, thanks, Dad. Why are you shocked? I tell you that all the time. And then when it's not good, I let them know that too. All right. So we love you much. We appreciate you much. We do say shalom. And we'll come out with a key study guide with some of the laws listed in it, that whereas you can just take them and be reminded of it. See, Dr. Nate just asked me about, I got 2 books that need editing. I guess we'll add that one in too. All right. Love you much. Appreciate you much. And we do say shalom.
Welcome to Empowerment of Faith Kingdom Center for Ambassadors. We're delighted to have you join us today. Honored guest, Empowerment of Faith has something that will lead you to our honored guest questionnaire. Thank you so much for completing the questionnaire. Don't miss the product of the week, Kingdom Keys to Effective Prayer by Dr. Larry Smith. Ladies, don't miss the next session of Women Know Your Worth. See the flyer for details. Join us on Zoom by using Zoom ID 853-7846-4363 and email us at hello@eofkc.org for the password. Attention men, don't miss Kingdom Men, Brothers Birth of the Same Womb Men's Fellowship. Please review the flyer for details. Don't forget, an RSVP is required due to limited seating. And if you can't be there in person, then join us on Zoom. Use Zoom ID 365-668-6796 and email us at hello@eofkc.org for the password. Unleavened Bread this year will be Nissan or April 13th through Nissan April 19th. Be sure to stay tuned to our flyers for details. And follow us online, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and more. Always remember to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, honored guests are always welcome in person. And we thank you so much for being here today. Shalom, y'all.